What's up, good people? Welcome back to my channel and to another episode of Finance Friday. I'm very, very happy to have you guys on here. Now, for the past 2 weeks, we've been having a very, very exciting conversation around giving our African families an unfair advantage. And honestly, if you missed the past 2 episodes, guys, the juice, the tea that you missed. We talked about wills, we talked about estate plans, we talked about trust, we talked about how to structure your finances with things like budgeting, life insurance to ensure that you're actually setting your children up for success. And one of the things that very clearly came out was that we are spending close to 18, if not 21 years in school, which means that if you're actively parenting right now, you're looking at a financial obligation of up to 18 or even up to 22 years when your child is actually in school. So we talked about every other aspect of financial planning other than what are the alternatives and the options that we have for better education planning, because education is one of the most expensive investments you're actually going to have to make. And it's a very, very long-term commitment with your child. I'm definitely joined by my friend and my colleague, Nyindo from Lerisk Africa. So maybe you can introduce yourself, say hi to us, and then we can get started.
Hi, second family. I feel like
I
I've been here
know,
so
now
much.
so many times.
So my name is Mnyindo Tyro, and I'm the founder of Larisk Africa. We are very passionate about the protection and preservation of family wealth. And we are also super passionate about having to break those cycles of poverty and cycles of bad decisions and helping our children live a much better life. And education is one of the most important, if not the most important, aspect when it comes to now us growing up. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation, Susan.
I know.
Yeah.
Something stuck with me from last week,
Yes.
right? When we were saying that we find it very, very ridiculous that our systems and the way they are set up, like the 3 years in preschool, 8 years in primary school, that comes to like 11.
Yeah.
Right?
Then
and then you have 4 years in high school.
Yes,
that's 15 years.
Exactly. Plus another 4 in university.
That's 19 years. So if I'm a parent to a couple of months old child right now, or a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, and I'm starting to think about finances and financial planning for this child, if I'm lucky, I'm working with a minimum of 19 years
of paying school fees.
For 3 terms or semesters every year.
Imagine
for
that.
the next 18 months.
Yes.
I mean, for the next 18 to
years.
19 years, right?
Yes.
If you are, let's say, with a child in maybe, I mean, that's the maximum, right?
Yes.
I mean, God forbid, okay, not God forbid, but assuming your child even wants to do masters and they're depending on you to do that.
So it
please,
will even be more.
We are talking now 22.
Yes. Can you...
you know?
Yeah, that is a lot.
And we were saying it's absolutely ridiculous that we go to school for all these years and yet our education system, for some reason, they forgot. Wakitengeneza curriculum, walisema financial literacy is not going to be a priority, you know? Watajipanga wakimaliza shule. It's actually, the more you think about it, it's absurd because we are doing all this so that we can become employable, so that we can earn money, so that we can be able to have good lives, but no one is talking to you about how to plan for that money or organize yourself around something as long-term of a commitment, like educating a child.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
So before we get into like the actual financial planning aspect of it, I know you feel very proud because I know you're my friend. You feel very proud of the level and the amount of commitment that your parents put in terms of like your schooling and your education, right?
Yes.
What do you think they did right?
Wow. So as I always say, yes, I will not be here without my parents, and them actually investing in my education was one of the biggest factors that got me here.
Yeah.
They really did their best. They actually went out of their way to get me to the best schools that they could at that
Sure.
time, in as much as they had so many responsibilities. If there's one thing my parents, especially my dad, keeps on now reminding us over and over and again and instilling in that is the importance of education, because knowledge is that one thing that nobody can take away from
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
Because the moment that all these things have been deposited in your mind, you can actually make something out of it. And we do understand that, yes, knowledge can come from very different aspects and
Sure.
different angles. But obviously now going through the whole system does have a role to play, because when it comes to education, yes, there is the knowledge, but then there's the the social aspect of
The
it,
exposure.
the exposure.
Yeah.
So there's a way that, depending on the schools you go to, it really, really opens up your mind, right? And from the time I was in so I grew up in Mombasa, yeah, and
Waswahili wa
sisi ni wa
mnakuita
kwenda
wapi? Bara ni huku nini?
bara ni nyinyi
Ni nyinyi
Nairobi,
ni
yeah.
wa wapi?
Sisi ni wa pwani, sisi
Pwani.
yeah.
Okay.
Sisi ni wa kule pwani.
Yeah.
So I still even remember my first day of school. I was in a school called Highgate Academy. I still remember. I even remember crying when my parents dropped me. But the one thing I truly love about the school I went to was how the teachers really poured into us. They were very strict about now the importance of now getting the good grades, which I think to some extent they went over and beyond. I was like, sometimes now when I look back, I'm like, was it really a must? Did we really have to come to school on like Saturday afternoon to come and do these remedials? But you see, now when you're in school, it instills now like the discipline of waking up early, learning how to work with others. And for me, as I said, it really, really helped me, especially when it came to growing my mind. And primary school was good. It was okay. And then eventually went to high school. Now, for high school, I came to Nairobi. And now this was now a whole different level of exposure. Yeah, because after Highgate, I went now to Kenya High School.
You're the Boma people.
See, ni sisi watu wa brown shoes.
Mlikuwa mnakula fork and knife.
Ni sisi.
Someone used to tell me, Nini, this babes in Boma eat fork and knife.
Can I make you laugh? Do you know, when I was in Mombasa, I only knew how to eat with a spoon. So the moment
you learned fork and knife in high school.
Can you believe
Me
it?
too.
So when they brought me fork and knife, I'm like, when these people, they can't afford a spoon. But it's, now you see, Kenya High, it also really taught me a lot. Yes, obviously the eating with a fork and spoon, the table manners, the etiquette. But also, I loved also the education part of it and the things I was able to learn and the people I met there, because I have very close friends who I met in high school, really, really good friends. And I love it that I was able to also build my confidence in who it is that I can become based on where it is that I also went to school and the people it is that I interacted with. And I feel like it also opened up my mind, because I was used to coast. Now you come to a national school, you meet people from everywhere, and there's a way that it makes you think differently and learn how to handle things differently. And it was, by the way, you should know, I was the shyest person ever.
You keep telling me that.
Have this
and I'm
conversation.
Just like, I'm not buying that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you see, now there they used to throw us like on the spot for us to learn how to be able to present ourselves and express ourselves and speak. So to me, that was, I really appreciate that my parents were able to now also take care of the school fees there. Because I remember, I think even for you, there's a time that we used to pay a lot, and then there's a moment they actually went to subsidize it. But that was really, really fundamental, especially now in coming to medication. Yes.
I love that you say that, because for me,
yes,
it's honestly the same story. And let me tell you, my partner. Hey, Mnindo, let me tell you. If ghetto was a person and a face, listen. My partner and some of his friends keep saying Pango, because like us, me went to Pangani.
Yes.
We are like alliance people.
Yes.
It's like when you step into a room,
Yes.
people must know you
That
went to Alliance.
I
It's
know
like
that.
someone would literally be like on their
Yes.
deathbed and like, any last words?
Tulienda Alliance.
I talk a lot about
Yes,
Pangani.
yes.
And like for me, especially because I grew up in Zima.
Yes.
Not Coast.
Oh,
I grew up
yes,
in
yes,
Zima.
yeah.
It's not Zima, the one you
Yes,
know, Zima
yes,
that you would know.
yes.
It's Zima for a section that was
Wow.
so in Zima, there was Zima this side for upwards for Roysambu roundabout.
Yes,
I know
yes.
you've probably heard of or
Yes,
been to
yes, I have.
where the TRM mall
Yes, I
is.
have.
And then there's now the Roysambu ya kule chini
Kule ndani.
that
Yes.
bordered
Yeah.
Githurai 44. So there was actually just a river there, like
Now,
the river.
The river between.
Yes, the river between. So like
Yeah.
uko, like down there, there's a car. It used to be called Gaza.
Are you serious?
Like the nickname
Yes.
for that area
Yes.
was Gaza.
Wow.
Now, Gaza, because the level of number one, Wheezy. Nah, like it was just yani to Nyindo,
Tumekurudisha.
majority of
Yeah,
the
it's taken
houses
you,
there
yes.
were like it was mabati houses,
Yeah.
and then it's like single rooms,
Yeah.
single room mabati
Yes.
houses.
Yeah.
So it's like a couple yes, but it's mabati, single room,
Yes.
single room, and then there's a cho public.
Wow.
And Bafu.
Yeah.
So imagine when you're going to school. So you need to be in
Yes.
school by 7 before the
Yes.
bell rings.
Yes.
So imagine you woke up at like 6 to shower.
Yes.
And then there's a line.
Oh God.
And you're carrying your water.
Wow.
Makosa ni hata utegwe umwage hiyo maji.
Yes.
Utaoga na maji baridi. Because also where is money for kukuchemshia maji ingine? Like, you know those things,
yes.
yeah?
My God, yeah.
So that was Gaza,
Yes.
right? And so like for me, I actually went to Roysambu Primary School.
Yes.
And I love that school to date.
Yes.
I just actually the funnest times I've had in my life was Roysa.
You even have memories from your
my best memories of childhood are in that school.
Oh my God.
You know, us we were jokers. Wacha nikwambie, like the things, Lord.
I know we can be here the whole day.
Hey, the things we would do. Us, we've just and then you know me, I was at Chopi, so I used to be number 1, number 2. I was index 1 when we were in class 8. But who is Susan Wanjiko in trouble?
Yes.
Us, we are on top of the table, we are dancing to Isa. You know? We are doing what? Like it was just like it was a very honestly fun times, I feel like that was just a good experience as a child. But then, of course, because I did well in class 8, so I got called to Pangani. And like people keep telling me, I talk to fellow Pangarians, and I also know Bomerians who feel like the school was the worst thing that could ever have happened to them. It actually, there was a Twitter thread about Pangarians who feel like the school traumatized them. Like they've gone to therapy because of how much they were traumatized.
Yes.
Me, I'm just over here thanking the Lord every day. I went to the school.
I think then it depends on also where you came from, your perspective.
You understand? Because for me,
exactly.
do you know I loved school? Why?
Yeah.
Because there was a loaf every day.
Wow.
There was mkate every day. I loved school because there was majimoto.
Wow.
Tulikuwa tunaogana majimoto.
Ilikuwa sasa kama ni luxury hotel.
Yeah. I loved school because I was assured of like meals.
Yeah.
I was assured I'd have clothes. I was assured, you see. And then of course, like for my folks to take me there, it was a stretch for them, right? Because you see, in terms of where the school was at that time, it was a provincial school. So the who's and who's of Nairobi were there. Now it's a national school. I feel it's a bit better standardized because like my first ever culture shock. Sometimes I feel like, because living in Zima, it's like you're suffering. So there's no comparison, sana. The first moment I've ever had that was like, I am poor. Truly poor was when I was in high school, right? But I think one of the things for me that has impacted, you see, again, as you said, the person I am today in terms of how my level of polished, my level of how I speak, my confidence, etc. All of that was grossly impacted by like the high school that I went. Because I also feel like the way the systems and the structures of the school ran, for people who came from needy families like us, it's like it was just a whole new world of exposure, right? And for me, why this information is very important is because I know for a fact my parents they
Yeah.
did more than what. Sometimes I look back
Yes.
because I
They really
remember where we
stretched. Yeah.
were, and I'm like, I don't know how my dad did it.
Yeah.
He did, but I don't know
Yeah. Yeah.
how, like
Yes. I think,
in
yeah.
between not being sure whether you're going to get school fees, nini,
Yes.
all of that
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
But like for me, the fact that, because that set me up, even the way
Yes.
my mind was opened up.
Yes.
And again, interacting with rich kids and stuff like
You
that,
you
you
see
get,
also world from a
you see
different
things
angle. Yeah.
differently. Me, I used to be those people for doing weird things on
Eh,
the table,
yes.
kuweka mkate ndani ya chai sijui nini. Yo, listen, the first time I
Yes.
did that, because we used to sit in tables,
People are like, kwani
everyone gave
WhatsApp?
me a side eye, like, huyu mtoto ametoka
Ametoka
shimo
wapi?
gani, like, so I
Yes.
even, me,
Yes.
everything I know about like etiquette, grooming,
Yes.
speaking, public speaking,
Yes.
everything I learned because I was in that environment,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
obviously our education definitely has impacted, but you see,
Greatly.
and our parents had to make some
Yes. Yeah.
sacrifices,
A
right?
lot. I
Yeah,
can't even imagine
exactly.
where they
And I
had to
feel
start.
like
Yeah.
now it's on steroids when people are planning, like now I know you're a mom of
Oh,
two.
girl.
So I'm hearing me nasikiza two fee structures.
Eh,
Like the fee structures
Where?
people are getting for school. I'm just like,
Yes.
and that's playgroup. They're
Yes.
going to just draw and color and sleep.
There's a time
And I'm paying 120 per term.
I remember when I was in Nairobi, I asked
Yeah.
for fee structure for playgroup because at that time my daughter, I think, was
Yeah.
like 2.5 years. Hey, when I
Like
looked at
heart
it, I was like,
palpitations.
is this university?
Huku ni
Or
wapi?
was
Na nyinyi
this?
ni kina nani? Like it's honestly.
I was like, yes, I know I want my child to
Yeah.
go to a good school,
Yeah.
but I also don't want to get like completely at zero because of it. So where
Sure.
exactly do you even find the balance? And does it mean that when the school is extremely expensive, that
Now
it's
that
a
is when,
good school?
yeah,
I think you have to go
yeah.
back and see, okay, what is important to me?
Yeah.
And what is it that I want my child to learn and
Sure.
to pass? Because again,
Yeah.
also how the teachers are, the school environment, all those things do play a part.
Yeah.
Not just the education bit
Not
of
just the
it.
education or how like fancy or expensive the school is.
Exactly.
Because that's
yeah.
a conversation we keep having. Because today we are talking about, and I want us to get straight into that now.
Yes.
Like the financial aspect of planning for education, right? I've had this argument sometimes, even online with people, when I say that for me, especially because I mean, Pango it was okay, but it wasn't like Brook House or Lighthouse or whatever,
Yes.
Cambridge system or British system. But I tend to feel like I turned out just fine.
Yeah.
So when people ask me, don't you want to give I honestly, I don't think there's any parent who does not want to give their child the best.
Yes, definitely.
However, there's an argument around people getting into insane cycles of debt and insane lifestyle creep or shifts and changes because it is a must for you, for your child to attend this particular system. And the argument, obviously, it's quality of education, exposure, networks, social capital and stuff like that. But then I'm just like, you're in debt and you think you're competing with someone who can comfortably afford their 3 children being in Wood Creek, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So financial planning when it comes to education, and I want to, especially because I know you are maybe among the few friends I have in insurance. We have education policies that are very, very, very common when it comes to, I mean, trust me, any Kenyan parent right now who's trying to ask or Google like, how can I best plan for my child's education? There's the education policies now, right? And I know there are pros and cons of it. Can I be honest with you?
Yes.
I'm not a fan.
I know.
We've
had this conversation over
I'm not
and
a
over.
fan of education policies. And today I don't want us to rush into, through it just saying, oh, I'm not a fan, but we're not giving the reasons why. For me, it's because I'm a financial planner. And from an investments perspective, I need anywhere I'm putting money, anywhere other than my current bank account. If it's something that is as long term as education, we are talking 4, 5+ years,
17 years, even
on the bare
18
minimum,
years,
I need
a return.
I need a return that is compensating me for inflation. Because over the years, I need to be compensated for inflation. Otherwise, schooling that was 20,000 7 years ago is
Yeah.
now not
Think
20,000 at the same
yeah.
level and in
Yeah.
the same school
Just think
because
about it.
exactly because
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
increasing cost of living. So when
Exactly.
I do my math every time a client comes to me and they tell me I have this education policy, it's for 10 years, I'm putting money and this is X amount that I will get. When
Yes.
I run my numbers,
The math is not mathing.
the math refuses to absolutely math because I'm thinking, okay, with inflation at like 6 or 7%
Yes.
per annum, this money, I don't know. So
Yes.
maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to hear from you in
Okay.
terms of like education policies. Can you talk me through the pros and cons? Because I don't want to just demonize them, but I'd like
Yes.
for people to and our viewers to kind of like understand the differences or rather the pros and cons. Like
Okay.
what is an education policy, number one? Explain it to us in layman
Okay.
language, and what are the advantages and disadvantages
Okay.
of using that as your entire portfolio for
Yes.
education planning for your
Yes.
children.
Okay. I think the one thing most people do not understand is that education and endowment policies are not investment products. Yeah. Because this is the one thing that almost anybody and everybody has come across with, because when someone starts thinking about education, the first thing that comes to your mind, because that's what has been done for the longest time, is education policies. Even before someone has a child, because again, the people are like, you know what, I'm planning to have a child, so I need to
You
put
should
money
get a
aside.
yeah, you should get a
You should get
policy
a
for
policy.
that.
Yes, I had a policy and this is what it is that paid out.
Yeah.
So most people, that is usually their introduction actually into insurance, their education or endowment policies, because I mean, who does not want the best for their children, right? So the
And
easiest
also if
way,
you want to get to
yes,
any parent,
uh
just use
the children,
thank you.
right?
Yeah.
So an education policy, endowment policy, this is a life insurance product with a savings element. So think about it this way. It's like a protected savings over a period of time. This is why
Protected savings over
over
a
a period
of
of time. So remember, even when you're putting money in savings, you're not really expecting it to grow to the level an investment does. So you have to be able to separate what is how does a savings look like and how does an investment look like? Because if I'm going to put money in an investment, it's because I'm expecting a return.
I want the money to
Yes,
grow
exactly.
at a particular interest rate.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Now you see with education or endowment policies, this is an amount of money that is going to be protected over a period of time. You are assured that if anything is to happen to me between now and when it is that I want my child to go to school, there's going to be some payout. Yeah. And if nothing happens and this thing has actually, they call it matured, that it's reached the time when now you can get your money, there's definitely a payout also at that point. So usually people tend to go for the products because it has protection against, now say things like critical illness or disability. It has what sometimes we call waiver of premium. That means that in the case of a maybe critical illness or disability, you no longer have to continue paying the premiums moving forward, right? So when you think about it that way, don't think of it as something that is going to give you some extremely high returns, because that is not how it has been structured. Yes. So it's like,
not
it's just like
structured
for your
to
peace
give
of mind,
you
nimeka tu pesa kando.
Yeah.
If life is to happen, at least my
If I'm
children will
to
still go
get
to school at
sick
that point.
or die or
Yeah,
get a
my children
disability,
will
there'll
still go
be
to school
some
at that
money.
point.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
How
So
much is the money? No, let's
okay,
let's
so
talk about
no,
it.
let's talk about it. So I
Yeah.
think okay, not that I think, I know, because this is something I've done over and over and over again, because before I even either recommend a product or just tell people about something, I have to do my own research,
Sure.
right? And I also cannot sell something or advise for something that I cannot choose myself. So you see, because it has both the insurance element, because remember, and the savings, because remember, we have to make sure that in the case of a death, disability, or critical illness, depending on what it is that you have picked, because again, some of these are riders, like the critical illness and disability. Rider means it's an additional benefit. So it means that there's still going to be a payout, maybe in the case of a disability or critical illness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to that, because it has the life insurance component and it has now the savings component, it makes it a bit more expensive than, say, separating the two.
The two.
Yeah, because you see now it's like two products almost in one. Yeah,
Mm.
because now when this amount of money you're contributing every single month for, say, the next 17 years, there's a bit of the money that is actually has to be allocated towards the life insurance just in case.
So if I contribute, say I contribute 6,000 every month for the education plan, it's not the entire 6,000 that's been put aside for savings to earn interest.
Yeah.
So they have to maybe take out a little bit, maybe 2,000, whatever,
Yes,
to go
depending on
to
how it's
life
structured.
insurance. And then the
Exactly.
remaining 4,000 is
Yes.
now what is put in as savings.
Yes, that. And then you have to remember they also have to get their fees. They have like, so eventually what exactly is being invested, the insurer knows. You see, you don't have that information. I think that is usually sometimes one of the biggest problems people have, is the feel of lack of transparency. Okay, out of this amount of money that I'm contributing, how much actually goes towards the actual savings and how much goes towards now taking care of the
Is that one of the
protection?
reason? Because one of the things I picked up, you see how like you can, when you're investing in a bill, you know it's 14%. When you're investing in a bond, you know it's say 17%. If you're putting money in an MMF, you know it's 9%.
Yeah.
If you have a SACCO, you know the savings are maybe let's say 9 or 10%, dividends are 15%.
Yes.
Is that the reason why when it comes to maybe like education policies, it is not like, I feel like most of, and even with endowments, it's called a bonus, like bonuses that will be paid out of something. But I've never verbatim seen someone who's saying the estimated rate of return will be this % per year.
Yeah, because you see now you've given the insurer all authority to do whatever it is that they can with that money. So what they've told you, you contribute this, you get this. That's it.
Yeah, so you have
whatever
the
it is that they do in
monthly
the back end,
premiums, and now the sum assured, how much you will get at the end of the period.
So you don't really have control of how that money is being invested, unless now maybe you put your money in something called unit-linked policies, because it's very clear, okay, this money goes towards the unit trust, and this one goes towards the life insurance. But now for the endowment, you just give, or the education policy, you just give the insurer, then they're like, okay, if you give me this amount of money every single month, I'll make sure that your people are protected to this level. And if you pay consistently until, say, this year, you're going to get this amount of money. You see? So you see now, that is just how the product has been structured.
So what's the advantage then?
So I believe the advantage, because I truly believe there's some people who would never have saved if they did not have these policies, because of the nature
forced
of
savings.
Yeah, it's the nature of maybe who it is that they are as a person.
Yeah.
There may be either lack of discipline or whatever it is. So people feel that, okay, if I put this money out here and it's locked, I know that I do not have access to it until
when my baby is in Form 1.
baby is in Form 1.
Yeah.
So you see now the locked aspect of that, because remember it's a life insurance product. Life insurance you can't just pull out whenever
you can't just
you feel like it. You see now with education policies now, depending on which one, because remember there's so many out there in the market. Say for example now someone has lost their job, say in year 4, because let me talk about now the problems that it is that we have seen. Yeah, because now people, as I said, it maybe brings in that level of discipline in people. They're like, okay, at least I'm putting this amount of money aside. I'm assured that my children will go to school and this is the amount of money that they're going to receive at that time. And I believe that it will help me to some extent with taking care of my kids' education, right?
Yeah.
But then now, when it comes to that also aspect that you cannot have access to your fund, some people have lost their jobs and they didn't have a plan on how they can continue paying these premiums.
So you have a commitment.
Yes, you have a commitment. And
that is 10 years, but in year 4, you've lost your job.
Yeah, actually, that is the one reason why insurance companies have a very bad reputation, because they feel that, oh, I've been saving money with you guys. Why can't I just access my money? But it's a life insurance product. You can't access
it.
Yeah, this is why it's important to understand what insurance is and how it works.
And the terms and conditions.
And the terms and conditions, because most people don't even go through the terms and conditions. You just sign and you go about your life, and then when now life happens, you're like, okay, I don't have any liquidity, I need my
But I
money back.
have I have
Yes.
Nikona savings with
Eh,
blah 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 company
eh,
ABC. So
yes,
let me go there. And then you are told,
exactly. Hauwezi kutoa
matter
pesa
of
yako.
fact, if you
Yeah.
can no longer contribute, what
You have,
happens?
yeah, it's like now you do not have any protection anymore,
Yeah.
depending on now how it is the
Mm.
thing has been structured,
If your
because
policy is in
even
arrears.
your policies and arrears,
Yeah.
exactly. So you see, say for example, I know someone who had contributed for 2 years, and then they lost their job and they could no longer contribute. So they didn't have any emergency fund. They didn't have any other investments that were giving cash flow that could pay towards this policy. Then they're going to the insurer and they're like, hey, me, I want this money back. The insurer is like, hey, which money? We signed here that, because this is one thing people need to understand. When you're making such a decision, especially when it comes to life insurance, because it's extremely long term, please take your time. Okay, not too long that you don't make a decision, but just enough time to understand what exactly you're getting yourself into, so you don't get angry later. Because remember, something like a life insurance is dependent on your age.
That's true.
And also your level of insurability.
Yeah.
Because maybe now when you're older, you can no longer get the cover as you could when you were younger. You see, so
it gets expensive the older you get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those are things now to put into consideration, because majority of people just get like their whole portfolio is all these policies, and they have absolutely no liquidity plan or any other way that they're saving. I mean, they're investing their money. So you see, now with that, it's not as flexible. You understand? You cannot just choose to get out whenever you want to get out. You have to have thought forward ahead. If life was to happen, how can I continue paying for these premiums? That's why I always say it's important to ask questions like, can I restructure this? Can I reduce to
So
the
maybe you
minimum?
started at 10,000,
Yeah.
and then you're asking,
Yeah.
is it possible for me to contribute
So you don't-
3K if that's what I can afford right now?
Exactly, because
Yeah.
some insurers allow it, some do
Don't.
not at
Yeah.
all. So although it's so it's good to just have that information beforehand. So when you're getting in with all the knowledge of, this is what I'm signing up for, this is what I'm getting myself into. I understand the pros, understand the cons, I understand that I cannot change it whenever I want. I understand that I'm not flexible the way I want. And I'm still moving ahead with it. So I think it's also a place of where the clients, the customers come from a place of knowledge, and also the agents should also be coming from a place of knowledge and being truthful to the clients, because we also know a lot of people who lie to their potential clients to make that sell. Because remember, insurance, we've spoken about, it's commission based.
Insurance people are closers because
Lazima.
lazima.
Yeah, because sasa, you see, now we earn money through commission.
Yeah.
Right.
So some people are just like interested in bringing the lead home, like you've closed the deal, but then it's almost like I feel like it's a double-edged sword in the sense that, number one, I'm not financially literate enough to know the right questions to ask. And neither is the agent selling me interested in giving me
you the
TMI.
information. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that just in case you do not, you change your mind.
Exactly. Just in case you change your mind. So it's almost like evil feeding into another evil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you see, sometimes you get that maybe even the agent does not know. They've just been taught how to sell. This is why I believe that also now from the agent's perspective, it's important even for you to have knowledge, not just of the product, but just of insurance
or
and
even
financing,
financial
so that
planning
now
in general.
you can even be able to give this client a plan that makes sense. Because if someone is going to take a policy of 50,000 a month and they have no liquidity, so you know that they're going to get stuck somewhere.
Sure. Or even better yet, in the concept of education, I think when I was telling you, when I ran my numbers all the time, sometimes you find that someone has paid, like, let's say 5K, whatever, however much you've paid. And then they're telling me, coach, my my sum assured is 600,000.
Yes.
That sounds like good money.
Good money, yeah. But
until you start financial
numbers,
planning.
yeah.
Because you see, as a financial planner, one of the things I always tell people, it's like, you want to start saving for travel.
Yeah.
You don't just decide, I'm going to be putting 5K or 10K or 500.
You start
For
with the
me,
end in
financial
mind.
planning starts with the end in mind. Where do I want to go? Dubai,
Mm.
Netherlands, whatever, America, when do I want to
Yeah.
do that? So that I can know between now and then how many years or months do I have, right?
Exactly.
Then I work backwards and ask myself,
How
what would
much
I
do I
want?
need
Yeah, how much
to
do I
put
need? Maybe you
aside to
want
get
to
to
do
the
a
school?
Euro trip for 3 weeks. I'll get my airfare
Yes, your
quotations.
quotation, yeah.
I'll go to BNB or booking.com. I find out exactly what the BNBs are costing there, blah, blah, blah. Do my transport accommodation and maybe now food and pocket money.
Yes.
So I know I will need $5,000 or however much I will need.
Yes.
Then I work backwards and say,
Yes.
I have 13 months to raise $5,000.
Yes.
Working backwards.
What, this is how much I need to put aside every
So
month.
sometimes
Yes.
I'm always like, a parent has gotten, like, they're very excited to get 600,000
Yes.
for a
Yeah.
payout, and that's exciting money. Honestly,
Yes.
even me can pay 600K saitan
Yeah.
saidia sana. Like, I have needs that require that money, right? But then we've not asked ourselves, your child will be in which school at that particular point of payout. First of all, even yes, we can know what schools will cost in future, but you can know,
you can kind of you can see the
predict,
inflation.
because
Yeah,
if I want them to go to
Yes.
school X, I want to find out exactly what the packages of school X
Yes.
are for a Form 1
Yes.
child or
Then now you
whatever. And then maybe you can
put into consideration inflation, like,
and stuff
okay,
like that.
yeah, this is how it
And
should
then
cost.
so what makes me sad sometimes is that you look at the 200K, 300K, the sum assured, the total payout, and when this parent tells you the school they want their child to go
You're
to,
like, hey, it's not much.
you're like, that's just 1 year.
Yeah, let me tell you something.
What about Form 2
Yes.
and Form
That's
3
that's
and Form 4
actually the
and
thing.
uni?
That's the thing. You see, most people don't start with the end in mind. Because most of the time when an agent comes to, like, uko na ngapi? Or sometimes people just buy to get the agent off their back, right? So it's good to have a good idea of maybe where it is that I want, and then now work backwards. Be like, okay, does this make sense? Because I remember there's a client of mine who came and her policy had matured, and she was like, this will take care of the what do you call this? Easy, the pocket money, because the amount of money that eventually matured, because she's been saving for such a long period of time, but now the amount of money that she was receiving, she's like, this cannot even take care of sometimes even a whole term or
and that's
a
why
year.
people are
So you see,
disappointed, and you start hearing insurance companies are a scam.
Yes,
Because
that is-
really,
yes,
you've also
it's
been
just-
told that it's okay. I think it is how the package is sold.
Yeah.
You're sold a dream that
Yes.
when you put 2,000 bob aside, your child will be sorted for education and you will never have to worry about it.
Yes.
Which is why for me, because today we want to talk about
Yes.
better alternatives,
Yes,
right?
yes.
For me, it's like when I think of an education policy, I think about it the same way I would think about an emergency fund. I think about it as a rainy day fund.
Yes, yes.
And as I told you earlier on, in full disclosure, the reason why I would not get one myself is because what I need money for 5 years from now, 10 years from now to do for me, it can get done in a product that does not even compensate me for inflation.
Yes.
Number two, I don't struggle with discipline.
Yes.
So again, I am very cognizant of what you're saying, that there are some people, some Kenyans, who, if it wasn't for that forced savings plan, even someone tells me, hii pesa, if I put it in an MMF, I'm going to spend it.
Now
So I
wako,
might as well put it. So
Yeah.
that one, I get it.
Yes.
But I want us to talk now to
Yes,
parents
yes.
who are listening to us, who are like, Mimi, I want a better alternative. I've
Yes.
understood what you guys are saying. We are not saying don't get education policies, obviously.
Do if it
but
works for you.
If it works for you, and if you require, for me, it's not even if it works for you, because working is something else.
Yeah.
For me, it's just
Yes.
if you require that discipline
Yes.
of forced savings,
Yeah.
and you
know
understand,
there's no other way. Yeah.
and you know there's no other way, then you can definitely, because now it's either that or nothing, right?
Yeah, because actually I always say that there's
Yeah.
a cost to everything.
There's a
so,
cost to
so at the end of the day,
everything.
maybe with this one,
Yeah.
you might not get the sort of return you're looking for.
But at
it's
least
better that
it's
not
better
zero.
than nothing.
Because you see now, for the people who have absolutely no discipline and they put this whole thing in a money market, it means that when it's the child's education,
There's
there's
nothing
zero.
left.
Because you see now we have
Exactly.
thank you for that question, Susan. So when it comes to an education plan, you have to ask yourself, first of all, what actually makes a good education plan?
Yeah.
A good
If you want to now
yes.
financially plan for
Yes.
the entire
Exactly.
process.
Because you see, and also remember, there's also different levels. There's from, the nursery level, there's primary school level, and then there's
High
the
school and
university and high
uni.
school level. So a good education plan, first of all, has to have structure.
Mm.
You have to know, okay, this is how I'm going about it. This is how I'm putting money aside. And I know that in the next 3 months, I'm supposed to pay school fees for my
Yeah.
kids, and this is the amount of money. There's a level of structure. You know that this is where it is that I'm putting my money in. So for me, for my children at this point, because they're still young, and for what do you call this? Nursery and primary, I just do money market because I need quick access to this
Yeah,
money.
because it's money you'll
Because
need like next year.
because you see now, like they've
Yeah.
just gone to school the other day.
Mm.
The next time I need to pay for their school fees is in the next 3 months. I can't put that obviously in something that is
Long
long term.
term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also same thing for, primary as well. Now you see now when you start looking at now, say things like
High school and
university and
uni. Yeah.
and uni, so you have to now even put more planning in place, because now those are also very important aspects, especially when it comes to overall education.
Mm.
So number one, I said there has to be structure. You have to be like, okay, this is how, like, let's say, okay, right now also we're talking about 844 because it's what we know.
Yeah.
But you see now things have changed. So you have to look at what is the current structure of where it is that you want your child to go to school. Some people will use the British system, others the American system, others will use now the current Kenyan system, CBC, right? So you have to know, okay, where does my child fall, or
Fall,
what is it that I am
exactly.
picturing
Yeah.
taking my child. And then number two, we have to remember that life happens. So there has to be a protection element when it comes to planning for your children's education. We have to remember that we are looking into, we want to live a long life and see our children going to school. But sometimes life happens. So we have to ensure that, okay, even if life happens, can our children go to school still?
Yeah.
Yeah, is the school fees going to be taken care of, or now do we need to now remove them? Do they need to get out of the school that they're used to because now they cannot afford it?
Yeah.
And number three, we need to look at the growth element, because we want to make sure that
the money is growing
the money
at
is
the
growing.
rate at which,
Yeah.
or even higher than the rate at which inflation
Exactly.
is growing.
Yeah, because now we have to take advantage of compound interest. Because you see, when you're putting money for your children over a period of 17 years, that's a very long time. Yeah.
Do you know,
So
I shudder every time someone just mentions more than
Yeah.
10 years. And then
Yeah,
I'm
it looks-
imagining where we are putting that money.
Yes.
I'm like, it will be peanuts in 10 years.
Exactly, because most people don't start with the end in mind. You see, now
Yeah.
also part of having structure is having the end in mind. Okay, I want my child maybe to go to Nairobi University, or maybe I want them to go to London. Yeah, wherever it is that you have pictured your child going. Okay, so what does that school fees look like? Because yes, we do hope our children get a scholarship, but if they do not,
Yeah.
we've already put money aside, because now when we put money aside now, we will be the ones who are receiving the interest.
Exactly.
But if we do not plan for their education now, it means at that time we'll have to take a loan, because these children need to go to school. So you'll be paying the interest to somebody else over something you could just easily have started today with what it is that you have.
Yeah.
So when I think about education planning, because as I said, it's important to know yourself and go with what works for you. I also don't use education policies for planning my children's education, because I believe that I am a good investor. I believe that I'm disciplined. I believe that I have structured my children's education plan in a way that, in the case life was also to happen, I know where the money is going to come to take care of their education.
Yeah.
So how I currently take care of my children's education.
I was headed there. It's good that I was like, so what do you do? Like, give us actual practical, because you've talked about, and I love that you've mentioned, there's the short-term planning. Like, I
Yes,
think
you have to.
another disadvantage, like that I find, especially like with the policies, it's that they don't bring in the aspect of, for me to plan for education, I have to think short term, medium term, and long term, because this is ongoing for the next 22 years.
Yes.
So maybe my child is now in class 5, but like so I still need school fees for next term.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I need to think about their high school or uni. You understand?
Yes.
So it's more of like, how do you do education planning that considers the short-term needs, which is school fees for next term or next semester or next year, right? The medium-term needs for my daughter is 2 years to go to high school now. I need to figure that out. or my toddler right now who's 2
Yeah.
years old,
Yeah.
they need to go to school when they're
Yes.
4 years old,
Exactly.
right? That's
Yes.
medium term. It's not like immediate,
Yes.
but like in the next 2 to 3 years, right? And then now there's the long-term aspect. So it's good that you picked up there. I
Yes.
just want to understand
Okay.
for you, from your perspective
Yes.
personally,
Yes.
what does that structured
Yes.
education planning look like for
Yeah.
like in the short term,
Yes.
the medium term,
Yeah.
and maybe now for the long term?
Okay, so for short term, I currently have a sinking fund for that.
So that's like your
A
normal money market
That's my normal
fund.
money market fund.
Exactly.
Because I mean, I told you I need access to it as soon as possible. So
Possible.
the beauty
Literally
about
next term.
yes, literally, exactly.
Yeah.
So see, because I'm in business, I love that level of flexibility. Because you know, there's sometimes that you make more. There's the very good months and there are months where you're
Yeah.
like, what? Yeah. So I want to know that even if I was to land on a lump sum, I can send that money there and it will
There.
still take care of
Yeah.
my children's education
Sure.
at least. Yeah.
That's for the short term.
For the short term, especially as I said, nursery school and primary school. So there's a lot of parents who put that into, as I said, in their budget, maybe because depending on the income that you have, you can be like, okay, how I've planned it is every 3 months, this
I need
chunk,
60,000.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This one can just come out of my salary. Depends on how it is that you've chosen to
Yeah.
structure it. Because there's some
Yeah.
people who can just afford to get that
One
money out
off.
of their salary for those 3 months.
Good for them.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, I have a sinking fund for now their primary and their nursery education. Yeah. And then now when it comes to long term,
Yeah.
I have put now this money. I'd started now with putting money in mutual funds. So most people are like, no, can't you get tempted to touch your children's money? Me, I'm like, every time I think of touching that money, I'm like, I'm eating my kids' education.
Thank
There's
you.
nothing, Yani, that money does not exist to me.
Yeah.
Because
And
yeah,
do you know, this is
that
so
to me
important
does
what you're
not
saying,
exist.
because even for me, I genuinely feel like
Yeah.
the reason why most of us will land into bad financial products, it's just that it is the lack of discipline.
Yeah.
The discipline. I feel like if we could just work on that one aspect,
Yes.
and this is something I've experienced because I coach on a day-to-day basis,
Yes.
Monday to Monday, and I feel like that is the one glaring truth that
Yes.
most of us do not want. I feel like instead of addressing the discipline issues,
Yes.
we create products
Yes.
that are they
Instead of-
benefit from the lack of discipline. You understand?
I see what
Or
you
we
mean,
do
yeah.
offers. So in other words, like
Yes.
I don't want to I don't want to work on my lack of
Yes.
discipline.
Let me just give
Let
you
me
a solution
just- let me,
because,
you know,
yeah, instead of going now
because
back to the
the
root.
same way
Actually, the
you've-
root is the
yeah,
problem.
because the same way you've said, like for me, towards maybe the mid last year, I also got like a fixed income fund,
Yes.
like a dollar fixed income fund,
Yes.
and like you don't know
Yeah.
even whether or not you will have a child or
Yes,
not, but like
yes.
I knew it was a desire,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I was like, I don't want, again, last week we talked about not repeating cycles of
Yes.
what we saw back home.
Yeah.
So for me, I set that up, and I actually had a friend also ask me that. I'm like, you don't even have a child yet, like
you're
you
planning
na
or-
hata
yeah.
kikuja, you still have 4 years to nini autaguza hiyo
Yeah,
pesa. And I'm
but,
like, you see the same way you're saying, you
Yes.
shudder at the thought
Yes,
of touching that money.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
it is the same case for me,
Yes.
because I'm like, again, I feel like also our background,
Yes.
like for me, because education was such a
a big
struggle.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't want to put my kids
Yes.
through this.
See, we spoke about mnaitwa hapo kwa assembly.
Hey, mnaitwa kwa assembly. You don't want your child to be called in the assembly huko mbele juu hajalipa school fees and whatnot. And for me,
Yes,
I
yeah.
feel like, even, sorry to take you back, but like when
Yes.
you talked about a sinking fund,
Yes.
you reminded me of one principle I have for every client who comes to me,
Yes.
because I'll ask you whether you're a parent or not. And I always tell all my clients, if you're a parent to anyone, you need a children's sinking fund. You need a specific money market fund,
Yes.
specifically for
For the
children.
children.
Because let me tell you, if it is not school fees, it is uniform.
Yes.
It is clubs.
They come up.
It is
Yeah.
wardrobe needs.
Yes.
It is tomorrow your daughter is
trip.
playing tennis, and then next time she has changed her mind, she wants to join
Yes.
scouts.
Oh my
And then
God,
you
that
don't
is
want
true.
to stifle their growth
Yeah.
to say, oh,
Yeah.
you
You're
can't,
funding their
whatever.
dream, you know?
you know.
yeah.
So for me, like I think of children and I just think of an Excel sheet and a separate
I know
account,
what you
you
mean,
know.
yeah.
So I just wanted to reiterate
Yes.
that part for sinking funds.
Yes.
For me, it's not, because you see, education nowadays is not just school fees.
Yeah.
It's bus, it's lunch,
Yes,
it's snacks,
yes,
it's
yes,
trips, it's all of
yes.
those things.
Yeah.
And some of them will come and find you unawares or in a very
Exactly.
tough spot
Yeah.
during the month.
And I think also the other thing where the other
Yeah.
reason why people come and dip their fingers into the school fees is because they don't have an emergency fund.
Yeah, so
even when
that's why
people,
we are saying a
yeah,
separate
just have a separate,
account
yeah, make
that
sure.
is not your
Yeah.
emergency fund.
Exactly.
Yeah,
'Cause I
for the
see,
kids.
yeah, because I see people, you're saving for your children's education, which is coming in the next 17 years,
Yeah.
but you don't have an emergency fund, which an emergency that
For
could
an
literally
emergency
happen
that
tomorrow.
can come tomorrow.
So obviously you're going to
Exactly.
touch that fund.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure,
So you see, this is
sure.
where structure comes in. Because for me, I'm not going to start saving for my kids' education if I've not taken care of my emergency fund.
It's almost
Yeah.
like unashughulikia, like you're dealing with things
Yes.
for 10 years from now, and something for tomorrow, you've not put a structure for it.
Exactly.
So that's why I needed to
Yes.
reiterate that. So maybe you can just pick it up
Yes.
from there. So we've
Yeah.
said the short-term ones. A sinking fund is just a
Yes.
simple money market fund that is specifically dedicated to
Yes.
that goal, right?
Yes.
And then now let's get into, the medium-term to long-term planning.
Yes.
So you're saying that for you've done mutual funds.
Mutual funds.
I've also
and
done like
yes.
a fixed income fund, which is
Yes.
also a mutual fund,
Yes. Yes.
which is more long-term, and it's now earning interest
over that
that
period.
is higher than
Exactly.
the inflation rate in Kenya.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the thing is that another way people could do it, which I also now adopted, is saving through a trust fund.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because setting it up actually is pretty easy. You putting because you see now the one thing also education policies have an advantage over just any other investment is that it doesn't go through probate.
Yeah.
And if you want to also have a fund, an education fund for your kids that will not go through probate, just do it through the trust fund.
Yeah.
So it will be growing maybe at a rate of 12% per annum, compounding, yeah, and it will ensure that at least there's that level of growth. And then remember, we have also a life cover on the side, a pure life cover, so that in the case of a death, disability, or critical illness, if anything is to happen, that specific cover will go into that education fund.
Ooh.
Remember, because again,
So is that within the trust fund?
Yes, you can make the trust fund the beneficiary to that specific life policy.
Pause.
Yes.
Pause. I'm now excited.
Yes.
So we've said short-term money market fund. You can consider that,
Yes.
right? On top of your education policy, if you still want to keep it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then for the medium term, you can, or the long term, you can either choose to do an investment, whatever investment you choose. Like mutual funds are good because then they have a level of like capital preservation in a way.
Yeah.
So you're not putting money in the stock market.
Yes, no.
Because
Me, I want to be assured at that time. I have other investments for other things, but for my kids' education, I just want to know that this money will be there.
It's not very high risk,
Yes.
right? So
and
now
it's
you're
also
saying
that I can allow me to pay, like let's say for example, I didn't have money.
Contribute per month.
I can contribute
and
per
at
month
your
and
own pace.
Exactly. And if I have a lump sum, I can send it in.
Yeah.
If
and
say
even
this
if
was
you
a
miss
tough
3
month,
months, it's still okay.
I can come and now now pick it up from where it is that we left. I will not be penalized because of that. So you see now I'll be paying minimal for the life insurance because I have taken control of my own life insurance. So I have separate policies from now for different things. So I have a specific policy that I've said in the case something was to happen to me, this one will strictly go to my kids' education.
Yeah, this money should
This
should
other
be
one will take care of food, clothes, shelter, and everything. This
whatever.
one is just for the education. This policy is tied to my kids' education fund.
Yeah.
You see,
okay.
that's how
so
I've
now
structured mine.
that's so now on the third option of the trust, because even last week we mentioned and we touched on trusts, right?
Yeah.
So how can you talk to us very layman language and in a basic way how this trust is structured and where what it looks like even in terms of numbers and how you can get one for the purpose and why it's important for you to actually, why not just go the investment way? Why is that trust aspects
You see,
coming in?
You see now the trust gives that extra level of protection. Because remember, the one reason why, as I said, most people do education policies is because it will not go through probate.
That's true.
Investments will still have to go through probate unless now you have now made the trust the beneficiary, right? Or now you have changed now the ownership from yourself of these investments from yourself to now the trust. But say now you want to contribute slowly but surely. The reason why a trust fund is good because number one, yes, of the protection part, and you can actually control how the funds can be dispersed. So say, for example, you say, okay, if I was to pass away and the life insurance proceeds have gone into this education fund, which are put under the trust,
Mm.
then the only time the money will be released is if someone has sent an invoice to the trustee, the
Sure.
corporate trustee. You
Yeah.
see, so that now there's a bit of level of also control. You've already
Controlling.
planned, like, okay, because the thing is that sometimes when parents pass away, people they're like, do these children still need to go to this nice school, right? They'll be like, see there,
Anaweza
tunaweza
tuenda
anaweza tu
Roysambu
kuenda.
primary.
Exactly, right? So
Yeah.
what
So
now you
like
see
the
now,
trust, what I'm getting, sorry,
yes,
is that the trust is coming in
mm,
the aspect of you thinking,
yeah,
if I died today, maybe you're a single parent, or even if
yes,
you're not single,
yes,
if I died today, my children would be
yeah,
vulnerable.
will be
So
vulnerable,
you're trying
yes.
to see this money I'm putting aside for them.
Mm.
How do I make sure it
It will
still
actually
goes to
to the education,
education,
and the education
even
you
in my
want.
absence?
Exactly.
Okay.
You see, because
Yeah.
remember, even God forbid, if you were to pass away when your children are still like dependent on you, that money will go into the trust fund and it will still continue growing.
Yeah.
Because remember, it's being invested within the trust. You understand? So that is the extra added advantage. So
I see.
the flexibility
Mm.
and the level of control and protection,
Mm.
right? So if you don't want to go the endowment policy or the education policy route,
You
you have
can
to look. You can
consider
consider now, having now your investments under now the
a
trust,
trust,
or
and then now put in instructions and
and putting
directives
instructions and
to
directives.
ensure that the child goes to where
Exactly.
you wanted them to go,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that no one decides anunue gari kwanza
Yes.
na kidogo,
Exactly.
alafu the other sasa ndio ipeleke watoto shule.
Yes,
I
exactly.
see. I
So yeah,
see.
we have to be able to think ahead.
Yeah.
We pray to God for long life, but we have
Mm.
seen many parents who've passed away before their children have reached that level, and things change a lot. So we need to make sure that, okay, our children are protected whether we are here or not, because they are our responsibility,
Yeah.
even here and the beyond.
Because now that's an ironclad.
Yeah.
That's an ironclad plan that has taken care of them,
Yes.
whether you're there or not.
Exactly.
For me, when I think about education, I think cash flow. Again, it's like the same way I think about retirement.
Yeah.
Like those are the two things whenever I think about them, I'm like, I need something, like I need an investment, because an investment or investments are
Exactly.
what will actually
Yes.
generate cash flow. And when you have
Yes.
something that you have to pay every 3 months,
Yes.
every 3 months,
Yes.
every 3 months, you need to
Yes.
figure out cash flow for every 3
Yes.
months for the next, until they are done. I really, really
Exactly.
love that. So
Yeah.
I know you have
Yeah.
a package
Yes.
at Le Risque Africa that allows us. I think one of the most surprising things we were talking about last week is how
Yes.
accessible things like trust funds have now
Yes.
become to
Yeah,
common
imagine. I
mwananchi
love
like
that.
me, Wanjiku,
Right?
here in Kenya,
Yes.
and how affordable the options are. So maybe in conclusion, you can tell us how we can get
Yeah.
a package of like trust funds from Le Risque Africa, because you
Yeah.
guys specialize in protection of African families.
Yes.
So please talk to us about that. Tell us where we can
Yes.
find you and how we can access that package.
Okay.
Because I need my viewers to be able to reach you
Yes.
for whoever is interested in
Okay.
considering, discussing other options
Okay.
outside of just the basic vanilla,
Yes.
education
Yes.
policies.
So this will be great for people who need some level of flexibility when it comes to their children's education planning, where they still want to know, okay, I don't want to feel extremely trapped, right? So we can give you a plan where it's a combination definitely of the protection and a growth strategy to ensure that you can still pause sometimes if life was to happen, but we still have to look at the goal at the end of the day. And it's also very good for people who want something extra. So you already have an education policy, an endowment policy, but when you look at the numbers, you're like, I don't think this might really be enough. So let me go back and see how can I now top up to this, right? Or if now you just want to start afresh and you're like, education policies are not for me, endowment policies are not for me. I'm just looking for something that's different. So I'm going to leave a link with Susan, because now the package it is that we are offering is a combination of all these things. So we'll ensure that your children are still protected. There's still a growth strategy and there's a distribution strategy in the case now life was to happen and
You're no more,
or you're sick, incapacitated, your children still can go to school based on the plan it is that we're able to give you.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who is planning to have a child, maybe it's somewhere in the back of your mind. You can even start before the child comes so that now
Yeah.
you can take advantage of, the compounding effect of money. And the
Mm.
younger you start, the better. Right?
Right.
Yeah, because majority of
Yeah.
people start when the child is actually here, which I believe is a bit late.
Mm.
Yeah, it's okay. It's better than absolutely nothing, but it's good that if you have it in your mind that, okay, I'd want to have a child, just start. And it doesn't mean that it has to also be your own children. We have a lot of people who are planning for even their nieces, their nephews,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And someone it is that you've chosen maybe to pay school fees for, you are a guardian, yeah?
Mm.
Whether you are, an adoptive, you are adopting a child, planning to adopt a child, whether you're in a single parent family, blended, whichever it is, a traditional family, this is a way that you can think about as an alternative of,
Mm.
education policies.
Mm.
And I'm really looking forward to working with as many families as possible because, as we said with Susan, our education is what has gotten us even right here to sit with you. And we're so
I
grateful for our parents.
know.
And we want your children to be grateful for you,
Mm.
right? You'll
Mm.
be that star parent. I want one day your children can sit and say, I'm so grateful that my parents did this. Because as we said,
Yeah.
that
I remember
education,
like
yeah.
even in last week's
Yes,
episode,
yes,
our in-house lawyer Winnie said
yes.
her mom is her money
Hero,
rock star, her
a
money
hero.
hero.
Exactly.
It's such a good feeling to imagine that your
Yeah.
children will say that of you in a
Yes.
generation where we are all like, why
Hey,
black
what yeah,
tax?
black tax. I
Why?
know. They'll be like,
Yeah.
my mom gave me an unfair advantage.
Advantage.
Right. That
Exactly.
is what
Yeah.
we are really hoping and praying for, to
Mm.
break the cycle and just start this thing all over afresh.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
Mm,
Guys, I'm going to link
yes.
I'm gonna put down the link in the description box
Yeah.
so that you can find out how Lerisk Africa can help you set up
Mm,
an ironclad
mm,
education plan that
mhm,
considers your short-term needs as
mm,
well as your medium to short-term and still includes an aspect of protection. Again, as we've said, we are trying to break cycles. We've seen what
mm,
happens in families when parents die.
mm.
We've seen what happens to vulnerable children in some families. And I mean, instead of just constantly worrying about that and just being like, God forbid that never happens to me, we
Yeah.
want financial planning is about preventative measures.
Mm,
We don't want to kind of like say, oh, I wish I knew, or
mm,
like, your kids are like, I wish my mom or my dad
mm,
did this. So please reach out to Lerisk Africa. I'm
mm.
going to put all of
Yeah.
Nindo's links down
Yeah.
below, the link to her YouTube channel.
Mm,
I'm going to leave the link to Lerisk
yeah.
Africa. And I'm also going to leave our most important link for today's conversation where you
Mm,
can connect with her and
mm,
get a package that would
mm,
work at your level of income,
mhm.
actually, at your
Yeah.
level of income
Yeah.
for the education plan, the long term education plan that you
Mm,
need. I
mm.
really hope you guys enjoyed
Yeah.
today's episode. For the past 3 weeks, we've really, really
Yeah.
taken some time with the help of Nindo
Yes.
to just break down how we can better protect and better, plan better financially to protect our kids, to protect our African families, to ensure we are preserving wealth, we are growing
Mhm,
wealth, and
mm,
it's also being distributed the right way.
mm.
So, in case you missed our previous episodes, I'm also going to link them down below. Please feel free to let us know if you have any questions. Of course, you know what to do in the comment section. I love reading your
Yeah.
comments. I'm sure Mnindo is also going to be checking out to
Yes,
answer any
definitely.
questions that you might have. So remember to share this video with your friends and family.
Mhm.
Turn on the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of Finance Friday.